Hi everyone, this is CrashMeTwice, and today I would like to show off my new collective damper project. Now the reason I've made this was that I had issues with the collective moving by itself downward, and I had to readjust the force adjustment bolt after a week or two flying. This became quite annoying and tedious, especially reaching the same tension as I had it set before. So I started this project to remedy the issue. Now this project wasn't quick and the video footage could easily be in 5 parts, but I cut it down into 2 parts, which is still plenty. Now let's get started. Well, I'm gonna start out with a flat stock of aluminum 6061, and I'm using from my CM2 base the bottom cover to get some basic measurements, because the CM2 base and the collective base are practically identical in size and shape. As I will be cutting this with my bandsaw, I need left and right a little extra to mill it to the correct measurements. Now we have our piece. We go over to the little mill and get this squared away. Now I'm machining the part which goes onto the collective. This part will drive the damper shaft, also known as a horn or a cam, all smooth and square. Now I'm gonna remeasure, make sure that I have the right dimensions on my workpiece, and I scribe it onto it. Now I'm milling out the pocket which goes onto the collective base. Now the collective base has a cover plate, and this cover plate is about an 1/8 thick, and so I have to make that pocket a little bit deeper to fit over that plate depth-wise to hold that in place. You will get a better understanding once we install this part, and then you see it acts almost like a clamp, like a little grip to that base. Now we're gonna finish the part up a little bit, put a cam onto it. And we'll make it a little more pretty. Now I'm drilling 2 holes. These are for mounting that, let's call it cam, to the collective. These are 4mm holes, so I have to re-drill them on the drill press to make sure that an M4 screw fits nicely through it. Okay, the holes are drilled now, looking good. Now we're gonna sand this a little bit up afterwards. Good fit. And test the plate on it. And that's the CM2 plate. Now we get to drill the hole for the damper shaft. And I will be using bearings on either side, so I have to make pockets for it. Looking good. Now I'm gonna drill a hole in an angle, and this will be for a counterweight. So I have to get a shaft in there, and I have to make sure everything is flush on that shaft within that angle. I'm using a 1/8" drill bit for pre-drilling, and then I'm gonna go up to use a drill bit so I can start threading. Here we go, we tap it. It's a M8 tap. A little chamfering. That's where our shaft will go in, for the counterbalance weight. I'm testing it with just a standard M8 bolt. Make sure that the nut will pass if it's flush with the piece. Okay, here we go. Now we're gonna make a couple pockets for the mounting bolts, which we drilled previously. I have a little indicator on the mill, which helps me to know how deep I'm going. Right here you can see it. I'm setting it to 0 when I bottom out, then I move the mill head up, and when I pocket the second one, I go to the same depth which I had before. 90% of the time that works. Here we go. All looking good. Pockets are in. Now the bolt will fit nicely in that pocket and has a home. Now I'm marked 2 locations for additional mounting bolts, which will become M8. This is so I can attach a panel to it or any other accessory down the line. These need to be threaded, so tapping is next. Again, a M8 tap. Little chamfering. Good to go. And here you can see the 2 bolts we created pockets for on the base. And this is where I talked about the clamping mechanism or the claw type thing, the cam, which will drive the shaft for the damper. Next on the line is 2 mounts or posts to mount our collective 2. Bandsaw, same procedure times 2. Let me clean those ends up, a little bit of cutting fluid. I'm using tap-free cutting fluid. This is environmentally friendly and has proven to be very, very good. Right now, make a recessed area so we can mount our collective axle to it. Alright, on to the next part. Now I'm drilling 2 holes to mount it to the aluminum profile. These are 8mm holes, or just a hair above. measure that here, find me an end mill. A lot of people use in aluminum a 2-flute end mill. I like to prefer a 4-flute. It just looks cleaner. Now I put a little bit of a edge on it to make it look pretty. I'll do this on the other side as well. This is the top section. Looking good. The center hole is next. This needs to be very accurate in position to mount the collective to it. After it's drilled, I chamfer it. And on this, you can see here the 2 pockets with the bolts and the T-slot nuts attached. Now I'm milling out a section so that the rod from the damper can pass without being restricted by that post. This way I don't have to be too worried about using the right bolt or have to turn down the bolt head to make it pass. Here you can see it slides right in, and the only difference between the 2 mounts is the slot, and on the other one we have 4 additional holes which mounts to the collective. So here's the right hand post. Additional holes so this can be down the line adjusted if I ever wanted to change the profiles. Here's the post mounted to the collective, and now we have everything bolted together and it's working. Looking good, everything aligns, as you can see here. Now we got everything together, all 3 parts we made are mounted. In part 2 of this project, I will be showing on how I mount the damper, connect it to the cam, create a bushing between the rotor base and the left post, and add a counterbalance weight to the collective. And as usual, I'm planning more projects in the future, so please keep an eye out for my next video. I hope you all enjoyed part 1 of this build, and hope I earned a like from you. CrashMeTwice, out.